Hello Reds and welcome to the 100% United Transfer Special. I'm your host TC and I'm joined again by my co-host Scott. Hello mate.
Hello mate.
Silly season is upon us. We have been linked in recent days to Matthijs de Ligt, Sergio Ramos, Thomas Partey, Bruno Fernandes, Giovanni Lo Celso, Antoine Griezmann, Joao Felix and loads more. We're going to get stuck into the transfer rumours in just a sec. First Scott, let's start with a few words about a memorable day yesterday at Old Trafford. The 1999 Treble team back together again. We weren't disappointed, were we, pal? Great scenes.
Oh, it was wonderful, wasn't it? Scholes, you still got it. Don't you worry about that. I think the best image of the day was just seeing Fergie walking down the sideline and getting back in his usual seat.
Yes, mate. It was a wonderful game, wasn't it? Probably the best football we've seen at Old Trafford all year.
Yeah, I would have to say that. And I'll be honest as well, the kit looked pretty good too, especially that goalkeeper kit with the old pink numbers on the back. Not that we're going to be able to see it, with the limitations put on us by the United kit bag site, but it's still pretty nice.
Yes, mate, I knew you'd be all over that goalie shirt. So it's a throwback to the 90s.
I think I had that 90s, that purple and pink one back in the 90s. Back when it was in such a small size that Schmeichel started going over to the shoulders on the back.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. No, the kit did look all right, actually.
It did.
It wasn't too bad. I just wish they'd done the surrounding of the badge in white, and I wish they'd put a bit of red on our actual crest, like the real crest. But to be fair, it was nice to see us back in white shorts at Old Trafford, wasn't it, pal?
Oh my God, yeah. And black socks.
Yeah.
After the garbage we've just been wearing for a year, anything's going to look good, right?
Yes, mate. My moment of the day, I mean, there were many, but my moment of the day is when Jaap Stam managed to murder 3 people in 20 seconds. I mean, unbelievable. Yeah. What was going on, mate? I couldn't stop laughing.
Someone didn't tell him it was a friendly.
The best bit was the last bloke came to push him, and just by pushing him, it meant he fell over. It was bonkers. Jaap so bloody hard. God, what wouldn't we give to have a prime Jaap Stam in the middle of our defence, mate? God, what a player.
I'd still take him 46 years young, mate.
Yes, mate. And you know what? Remember a little while ago now, I said, of all the past players that we could put into this team now, it was when we were doing quite well as well. I said I'd take Becks. I'd take David Beckham. But obviously I was talking about the Beckham in his prime. He's still all right, isn't he?
Mate, he is. You don't lose it, do you? You don't lose your touch. Scholes, you showed us you don't lose your touch, but no. You also don't lose the ability to ping a ball 50 yards.
No, you don't.
Really incredible stuff. And what a goal, just to show the composure to stick it up in the roof of the net, the Stretford end. And
what, from Becks?
Yeah, perfect way to cap the whole day off.
It really was. And 5-0 winners, obviously. It was great to see. Everyone turned out apart from Giggsy. He was on Wales duty, and Roy Keane, who didn't turn up as expected. Not a surprise there, mate.
We just said I wasn't playing the first game. Why should I be playing the second game?
Yeah.
But I actually thought it was a really nice touch for us to start with Andy Cole. I know he's had his terrible problems with his kidney transplant the last couple of years and obviously wasn't fit enough to play, but it was a really nice sentiment for us to be able to start him and sub him off after 30 seconds. But it was a really nice touch.
It was lovely to see Andy Cole back in the red shirt playing at Old Trafford. I must say, though, if you're going to pinch my photo off Instagram, Andy Cole off our at United 100 podcast Instagram page, you could give me a repost or at least like the picture. He just pinched it and reposted it as his own. I couldn't believe it. Andy Cole, blooming hell, he's reposted my picture. Fantastic.
It was funny. I saw the picture and I saw it had like 3,000-4,000 likes. And I thought to myself, oh my God, that's pretty good for us. And then I realised that it was Andy Cole who had posted it. And I thought, oh, cheeky git.
Yeah, got it. Cut it down, got rid of any evidence. Anyway, Andy, we'll see you again soon, I'm sure. But really, we're only joking, man. It's actually, you can have my picture, Andy, that's fine. Really, really magical day, mate. Some real legends returned, the biggest legends. Ollie hasn't lost his touch either, has he?
No, really hasn't. And neither Dwight York. I know listening to the last episode again, it sounded like I was digging Dwight York out when I really wasn't. He was so good that season that it was just surprising that he didn't score in the bigger games towards the end of the season. But he had a fantastic game as well.
He did. His little pullback before Solskjaer's goal was delightful, wasn't it?
Yeah, but forget it.
And he took his goal well as well.
Oh, left foot volley. And you got to think, he's mid-40s. He really gave a fantastic account for himself, as he always did, and just the smile on his face was something that I hope everyone's missed it as much as me.
Yeah, we all have, mate. And it really was absolutely amazing to see them again. Obviously, gained a load of money for the Manchester United Foundation. 60,000 people fitted into Old Trafford for the day. Just magical, mate. It just goes to show. And you know what, actually, I think it's a really, really pivotal moment of the summer. Just reminding us all about what this club's all about again. We obviously had a disastrous end of the season. But scenes like that, figures like that who still love the club, who are still close to the club, there are bright days ahead, mate. Even though it doesn't look like it now, we'll be all right.
For sure. Absolutely. And let's not forget that, a year ago, everyone was worried that Sir Alex Ferguson wasn't going to make it to Old Trafford to watch another game, let alone be sitting in his old seat. So let's take a minute and remember how grateful we are that he's still with us.
Yes, absolutely, mate. 100% on that. A great day, mate. But should we kick off silly season and let's go wild with a few transfers? Yeah,
let's do it. Yeah,
your favourite time of the year, mate.
Oh, that's when I come alive.
I don't even know if you like football, to be honest with you.
The transfer window hasn't been open for more than 10 days or so, but the anticipation's already getting me. Where I wake up in the middle of the night and I check my phone and check if anything's happened, and then don't get back to sleep for a couple hours, just thinking about what direction we'll be going in and what's happening. But last night I had about 2.5 hours sleep after having a really long day yesterday, and I was exhausted, but still managed to get affected by the transfers like I always do.
Good stuff, mate. Some things never change. What I will say is there's a lot more names floating around than we expected. Some bigger names than we expected as well. Look, it's the start of the transfer window. Of course, agents are floating at names, and we're a good name to float. But Matthijs de Ligt popped up last week. Rumours were that we had the deal done. Obviously, there were a few journalists trying to take advantage of a breaking story. Looks like it's settled down a bit now. Obviously, with Matthijs de Ligt, we've got to highlight the fact that the Nations League is kicking off now. We've obviously got Holland, we've got Portugal, we've got England, also Switzerland in there. So any players who are in those international teams, in all likelihood, won't be moving until that's finished. So logically, if you were de Ligt's agent and Barcelona were pretty much going to seal the deal for him, and you say you leaked the information that United had a deal sealed, it was all done and dusted before the Nations League, it might just jimmy Barcelona into paying them a bit more when the Nations League's over. So I'm certainly not going overboard from this news. I think it looks like they're taking advantage of the fact that de Ligt's not going to move for the next 2 weeks. So why not push out the team that other teams know our ace in the pack at the moment is our money. It's not our standing in the game.
For sure. And let's not forget who his agent is in Mino Raiola, someone who's had history with making up stories in order to get his players better money elsewhere. And, it's happened to us time and time again the last 5-6 years that players flirt with the Manchester United name in order to get bigger contracts or get better offers to go elsewhere. And so we just can't count our chickens before they hatch.
Yes, mate. He was actually interviewed and he said today, where do I see myself? Well, the Premier League is a big competition. Spain also, but you have other countries. It's not just about those two. I still don't know anything about where my future lies, so I see how it goes. So he's basically just floating it out there.
Interesting that he said Premier League first, though, right?
Absolutely, mate.
And the way we're going as well, a big thing is the fact that he started following all the United players on Instagram and liking a few. He liked Rio Ferdinand's picture from the 2008 Champions League. It was the anniversary of the 2008 Champions League win a few days ago. Yeah, he liked that picture. So that's the kind of stuff that gets my heart going, to be honest.
Yes, mate. Of course, City and Liverpool are also interested. 19 years of age, the Ajax skipper. He's had a blinding season. They've won the title for the first time for a number of years. Obviously, Champions League semi-final too, scored a goal in that. I would say, on the one side, in Barcelona's court, obviously, they stand higher in the game at the moment. They've just signed Frankie de Jong from Ajax too, and they're obviously very good friends and great teammates. It's one of those ones, if I had to say yes or no right now, I'm going to say no. It seems like it's a dream signing, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I think it's too good to be true, isn't it?
I think so, mate. I mean, from my point of view, we're going to look through the centre-backs, midfield, forwards as well. I'd quite like to see us sort of sign young, up-and-coming players, but also experienced players in each of the positions, really. I know we've been linked to Sergio Ramos in the last few days. Would you take him, mate? What do you think of that link?
I'm not too sure about that. I think that if we were to go with a bit more experience, I would love someone to have Premiership experience. And to be honest, I think he's one of those names that's going to end up in China.
Yes, so that's the rumour now coming out that he's asked Real to release him and he will go on a free to China. Obviously, that benefits Real in a way because, of course, they don't get a few pounds for him or euros for him, but they also prevent the possibility of him coming back to haunt them. So, you get him off to China, that might be quite palatable for Real Madrid. Personally, I love Sergio Ramos. I think he's a fantastic player. I think he's exactly the kind of player we need to drag us out of this mess we're in. I think he'd dish out a few slaps in that dressing room that are needed too. And also, if we were going to sign a younger centre-back, I'd like us to sign a more experienced centre-back too, to bring the youngster on and to bring our other players along, because I look through our centre-backs and, I'm fond of them. I'm fond of Lindelof and Smalling. I think it might be time for Jones to go, but I don't think he will. But they're all second centre-backs. None of them are the lead.
Yeah, we got Axel coming back as well.
We do indeed, but they're not leaders of the line. And obviously De Ligt, Ramos, they're people who will lead that line. And, when Smalling was playing alongside Vidic and Rio, he was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no problem with that whatsoever because someone was guiding him. But since they went, the standard went down. So I would be interested personally in Sergio Ramos. I understand why some people wouldn't be. Koulibaly, still being floated. It's still possible by the sound of things. It's just the price, isn't it? It's very, very expensive. It's sort of upward of 90 million.
Yeah, it's outrageous. But he is in his prime, 27 years old, bang in his prime, 6'5", hugely dominating physique. But I'll be honest, he's pretty unproven. He didn't do very well in the Champions League. I know that YouTube does him very well, that they show a few of his fantastic clearances, but it doesn't show a lot of the lapses of concentration that he is prone to. I don't think he's proven at the very highest level.
Yeah.
And it's something £100 million plus. It just seems outrageous money for a player in that category,
Yes, man. He doesn't seem like that much of a leader of the line as well. He's a good, he's a good footballer, but not so much of a leader of the line. So with that one look, if we sign Koulibaly, we get the checkbook out and get him in, then, I'm going to be happy about that. It's an upgrade on what we have, but I don't think we should be chucking 100 million quid in Napoli's direction for that one. Realistic, it's just too much.
If any team spends £100 million on a player, it's good business. They've managed to get him. It probably would have been 120. They managed to get him for only 100. But when we spend 100 million, it's outrageously expensive. Never be able to live up to that price tag. Not just from the English press, but from even our fans sometimes.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not sure if he'd be able to deal with that huge burden on his shoulders of being a £100 million defender, especially playing for Manchester United.
Yes, I would favour the 19-year-old De Ligt to handle that better from the outside. One other name that's popped back up, obviously last summer's flirtation, Harry Maguire being linked again. Obviously he's in the Nations League as well, so nothing's going to happen with that for a couple of weeks. They're saying we're going to have to break our transfer record, which is 86 million.
Yeah.
For Harry Maguire again, it's just too much, man. That's a total rip-off.
It is, and although Premiership experience is a huge plus, again, I don't think he's a player who'd be able to deal with such a huge price tag playing for United.
Yeah.
If anyone, I would like us to maybe try and get Alderweireld. I know he's 30 years old, but he's got the clause in his contract now that he's available for 25 million. Premiership experience, fantastic player, really good leader of the line, as you say. Enough money that allows us to concentrate on other areas as well and not take a massive chunk out of our budget.
Yes, mate. I mean, I'm going a bit wild with the old budget. I would personally bring in Alderweireld or Ramos and one of these other centre-backs as well. There's no time for messing around, pal. We can always sell people, recoup some cash, and we've got plenty of players who we can sell. I really would like us to have some experience in there as well, but we can't have everything, pal, can we? Midfield-wise, Giovanni Lo Celso popped up again over the weekend, 23-year-old Argentine. He's had a great season on loan at Betis from PSG. They just actually signed him for 20 million on a permanent. And Spurs are interested as well. United also interested in Bruno Fernandes. He said himself there's no contact with any club, at least as far as he knows. Yuri Tillemans as well. City apparently have made contact with the Belgian. And Sean Longstaff of Newcastle as well for a sort of slightly deeper role. Any of those names tickle your fancy, Scott?
A couple of them, to be honest. It depends on where we're going to play them. I think that we're going to keep playing this three-man midfield and need players with a bit more defensive qualities about them than Bruno Fernandes is a bit more attacking player, but 24 years old again, at an age that is ready to start delivering immediately. isn't a player earmarked for the future or anything like that. And again, last season, what did he get? 27 goals, 15 assists, something like that?
Bruno? Yes, in 33 games, mate, 20 goals and 15 assists and over 100 chances created. So over 3 chances a game created from Bruno Fernandes. A very productive player.
Yeah, incredible return. And that's exactly what we need, is a bit of chances created, right? One player I think we also need to focus as well. I don't know if Nemanja Matic is going to stay, but we really need a defensive midfielder in there who's maybe a bit more agile, a bit more effective.
Yeah.
Tielemans is maybe a little bit more of a attacking-minded central midfielder, but his Leicester teammate Wilfred Ndidi, I was reading, had the most interceptions and the most tackles in the entire league this year. 83 interceptions and 143 tackles, which is incredible numbers. 22 years old. He'd be a really good player to add to our squad as well.
Yes, mate. And also another name, Sean Longstaff from Newcastle, being linked for 25 million as well. Compared to Michael Carrick, apparently he's on very low wages at Newcastle. The rumours are he's happy to stay at Newcastle. Newcastle have been linked with a takeover as well. Mm-hmm. So they might have more cash than they had before. Another player who starred this season, I know he particularly starred against City this season.
Yeah, but I think another one of those that's earmarked for the future wouldn't necessarily be coming in to make an impact straight away. And if you're honest, that's what we need, is someone to come in and help us straight away, because we need it.
Yes, you know? Mate. I mean,
I was reading as well that Thomas Partey from Atletico Madrid, that there was talk that we activated his release clause.
44 million quid.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, 25-year-old.
Yeah, defensive-minded.
Yeah, athletic. Yeah,
pretty effective in there as well. I saw him a few games in the Champions League, and he was pretty good.
Yes, mate, absolutely. I know Ndombele's popped up again, the 22-year-old from Lyon. Also, Adrien Rabiot, he's available on a free, so he may be a bit more of the experience you were looking for. And the other one to mention is Ivan Rakitic of Barca. Obviously 31 years old, being linked to us as well. What do you think of that one, mate? It's an interesting one.
I quite like him. I think he's a pretty cultured midfielder, but I don't actually see it. I think he's pretty happy to stay at Barcelona. And again, it's a player who would take a massive, massive bid in order for us to get. And I think that there are actually a few maybe good players available at reasonable money around Europe, and maybe we should focus on them.
Yes, mate. Obviously, we're talking more about the ins than the outs. Positivity mania over here. But obviously, Paul Pogba today has been linked to a swap deal back to Juventus. Obviously, been linked to Real Madrid week to week. Juventus have entered the fray too. Apparently, Paulo Dybala and Alexandro will be offered in a swap deal, is the rumour today. I mean, swap deals really never happen, do they, Scott? That's the truth. It's more of a sort of paper story.
Well, Alexis Sanchez for Mkhitaryan.
Yeah, sure. I was actually talking to an Arsenal fan today about that and having a laugh at how awful they both were.
Yeah.
I said, Mkhitaryan's missing the Europa League final. He was like, so what?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. He's rubbish anyway. Dybala, only 5 goals, 6 assists in 29 Serie A games this season.
I think a lot of those appearances were coming off the bench, right?
That's right, but then obviously that adds to the fact that you can't make the first team either. It seems that we'd be giving our best player for someone who's been on the bench a lot, and for Alexandro, yeah, sure, Alexandro played 43 games. He's useful, but they have other options over there, don't they? And to me, it would be us getting a couple of players who they don't really want or need anymore for our best player.
I would have to agree with that. Although I would really like Dybala. I would really like us to go and get Dybala. Not just because he's a great player, but I think he's Pogba's mate, and I think he would maybe settle Paul Pogba down and would be able to keep Pogba.
Yes, mate. And another player in that ilk, he's kind of between a midfielder and a forward. Another one's been linked to many teams, been linked to City too. Joao Felix, 19-year-old. I love this guy, I tell you. He's amazing. Just been called up to the Portuguese side for the Nations Cup. He can play attacking midfield, support striker, centre forward, play on the wing. 20 goals in 43 appearances. A 4th top scorer in Primera Liga with 16 goals for a 19-year-old in his first year.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's been comparisons to Cristiano Ronaldo. In terms of style of play, that's not a direct comparison. It's the fact that he's burst into the world stage at such a young age. But he's also been likened to Rui Costa, which is a good comparison. And the one I really like is Kaká. He's been linked to. And I obviously, back in 2007, I was unlucky enough to watch Kaká over 2 legs at Old Trafford. Tore us apart, spun Gabriel Heinze inside out, and then actually went to San Siro for the second leg of the Champions League semi-final, where we got knocked around the San Siro in the rain and learnt some lessons that we'd take into the next year and win the European Cup. But Joao Felix, he reminds me of Kaká, and I would love him. I think that it's a dream, though, to be honest with you, pal.
Yeah, I think he's definitely one of those luxury signings. I'm kind of worried that he's going to go to City. I think every few years a really young player bursts onto the scene who you just think there is no way that guy's not going to be world class. I think the last one was maybe Mbappe. And yeah, he's going to be a really, really special talent. To be honest with you, don't see us being able to fight for signatures like that without Champions League football. But I'd love to be wrong.
It's funny you say that, mate, because as I was walking along, getting ready for the podcast, I thought exactly what you just said. I just thought there's something about this kid where there's just no way that he's not going to be an absolute superstar. Mm-hmm. It's the intelligence of his play rather than the actual numbers or anything like that. And I thought, who's the last player who showed that? And I thought Kylian Mbappe as well. So yeah great stuff, pal. Another one that's popped up, we thought this was dead and buried. We thought this was long gone. We'd washed our hands of him. But Antoine Griezmann popped up again. He's obviously got 200 million euros, a release clause.
That changes July 1st, no? Or June 1st, something like that. I remember reading it.
Yeah, and that's due to drop to 103 in the next few weeks as well, mate. Now, he has been linked to Barcelona, of course, again. Now, this is one that is quite interesting because when Griezmann's played at the Nou Camp this season, they have absolutely slated him. They've torn him to shreds and not palatable stuff either. So do you still think that's a possibility that he will go to Barca?
I think it is definitely a possibility. They've shown in the last few years as well that they like to do their big business near the end of the windows and sort of spend all window trying to get the price down as much as possible. With Ndombele and with Coutinho, the last two examples of that. I would love to see us make an effort for him. I think he's someone who would instantly make us much better, especially coming in from the right or playing straight up front. And again, another one sort of similar to Dybala, that he would maybe settle Paul Pogba down a bit.
Yes, I believe that the signing of Griezmann would be an absolute game changer. He'd change everything about us, the mentality. I think it'd be an absolutely fantastic signing. I'm not holding my breath on it. I know that we obviously, our standing now is not what it was. And my one worry with people like that is we chase them around, we show that they're available, and then the City or Liverpool come in and get a player that we were after. Hopefully, if we can't grab these players, they will go somewhere abroad. But we are on a bit of a knife edge this summer. We need to be quite savvy, and we might need to chuck some extra cash at some people in order to seal the deals. Another one being linked is Mauro Icardi. They've been to Milan. He's obviously had fallouts all over the place there. He does come with some baggage. Obviously, his wife.
He does, yeah.
I'm not sure he's the kind of character we need to be putting into an already dysfunctional dressing room. It's floated that Lukaku may be right for a swap deal, or maybe Alexis Sanchez been linked to Inter and Juve as well. A possible swap deal. Again, it's probably the papers putting two and two together. Mauro Icardi, no thanks.
I'm not too sure. I think he would, again, bring something instantly to the table.
Yeah.
He does bring a lot of baggage, but he also brings a lot of talent.
And let's not forget, mate, when you're in a position as a team where you're desperate, you need to make a resurgence, sometimes you have to take risks. I mean, let's not forget when Eric Cantona walked through the doors, everyone was saying, you've signed an absolute nutcase.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And remember, Zlatan brought a lot of baggage as well, everyone would say,
Yes, exactly. And they were nutcases, but they were magical ones. So that's all good by me. Jadon Sancho, that rumbles on.
Not going to happen.
No, it's not, mate. The rumours are that we had it all done and dusted, but we messed it up with our performances. The CEO of Borussia Dortmund is saying he's definitely staying next season. He doesn't think he'll stay there for life, but it looks like he will stay there. We know these CEOs and directors of football, they do talk a lot of nonsense. But the Sancho one, it seems to be going cold, doesn't it, bud?
It does. Again, one of those players who you can't see not going to want to play Champions League football.
Yeah.
Obviously, came from Man City. He's a good mate of Angel Gomez, our wonder kid coming up the ranks.
Yes, mate. As I say, I don't think it's a goer now.
Definitely not this year. When we get back in the Champions League next year, that it's something that has a much better chance of happening.
Yeah. It looks like Daniel James will sign. Real sad news that the transfer got postponed due to the death of his dad. And you can imagine that, bloody hell. You're signing for United and then you get the news your old man's passed away. Just desperate stuff.
Yeah.
But let's hope he seals the deal, comes over and his life turns in a good direction. He's got gas to burn, hasn't he, pal?
He really does. He really does.
He
And,
really does.
from what I've seen of him, he, as I said, has a really nice level head about him and makes the good decisions at the right time.
Yes, mate. And he's obviously been tipped off. Ollie, presumably, has been tipped off by Giggsy. Giggsy obviously called him up to the international setup. He banged in that lovely goal as well for Wales. So it looks like Ollie's connections are starting to bear some fruit.
Thankfully, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, buddy. And obviously Gareth Bale's a name that keeps on popping up. I know I've been popping it into your ears for years, haven't I?
You got to stop it, mate. Come on.
It looks like he's available, mate.
He's available, but I don't know if it's going to happen, mate. I think we need to move on from that.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do.
I don't agree, mate. I mean, who have we been playing on the right wing this year? What, Mata and who else?
Yeah. No, okay, he's better than what we've got. I will agree with you on that. But it just might be too little too late. Unless, because that's a player, Real Madrid are trying to raise funds to buy Neymar and Mbappe, if you believe everything you read. And I'm not sure that he's a player that is worth the money that they're going to want to recoup for him in the 100 million range.
Yeah, we will see him. Apparently, he might be available on loan, but it's always a bit weird getting a player on loan from a big team, I think.
Falcao was on loan as well, but because of the fact we paid 5 million loan fee, everyone was down our throats from day one and didn't even give him a chance.
And Alexis Sanchez was on a free as well, wasn't he, mate?
Yeah.
But they still never mention that when they're talking about his wages.
Mm-hmm.
So, but talking about loans, mate, we do have Axel Tuanzebe, who's completed his loan at Aston Villa, promoted, great experience, fighting for the title, obviously, started at Wembley, and had a really, really good season.
Yeah, had a great game. I watched that playoff final today, and he had a really good game.
Yeah, he's a cultured player, isn't he?
Yeah, got a great touch, nice range of passing as well. And it could be really, really good experience, as say, not just his season, but learning from John Terry as well, who was, as we say, a defender himself.
Yeah, absolutely. Another defender who's been out on loan, one of your particular favourites. I know we mentioned he picked up an injury, Timothy Fosu-Mensah. Unfortunately, he would have been a great option for next season, wouldn't he?
He would have been. He clocked the fastest speed out of anyone in the league.
Somehow.
Yeah, which these cruciate injuries, they might never get back to that speed, but I really wish him well. I've always thought he's got a lot of talent, and I really hope we can be able to see him in a United shirt this year.
Yes, mate. Before we do move on from Timmy, what do you think is his best position going forward? Obviously, we've seen him at right back, centre back, very deep defensive midfielder before. If he did recover fully, where would you like to see him in the team, mate?
I think really deep central midfielder, more of an anchor man for the midfield. But, he really surprised me when he moved out to full-back and was really good at full-back. As I said, he's got the speed for it. Not sure if he's a good enough crosser of the ball to be a really good modern-day full-back, but I would like to maybe see him in that number 4 role of furthest back defensive midfielder, sort of a nice bridge between the defence and the midfield. What about you?
Yes, Matt. With Timmy, I mean, obviously we've seen him go through patches in different positions, haven't we? I know Van Gaal brought him in the defensive midfield a couple of times. We saw him obviously at right back. If he was fit, I'd like to see him used like Fergie used to use the youngsters. Push them in different positions, let them learn the game, and let sort of naturally his prime position come to the fore. To me, he seems to have the intelligence to be able to slip into a different position and it not to take him a few games to move, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. And on to the goalies, mate. We've got Dean Henderson's been out on loan at Sheffield United. He's had a blinder of a season.
Yeah, he really has. Managed to get automatic promotion.
Yeah.
Saw little highlights of his season. He made some really good saves and looked like he was a bit of a leader from back there, shepherding the Sheffield United defence like Schmeichel used to do in the 90s.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't remember Schmeichel playing for Sheffield United.
Like he used to do for us, you know what I mean, mate? Come on.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And obviously with the question marks above David De Gea's head, I kind of think that we might benefit from letting Henderson stay at Sheffield United for another year. Let him play Premiership football for another year. He obviously won't be able to play against us, so it gives us an advantage over our rivals anyway. And just to give him another year, but obviously it depends. If David De Gea goes through the exit door, we might be scrambling around for a number 1.
That's a really good point. Even if De Gea does leave, we've got Romero, we've got Joel Pereira coming back, and would be able to have Henderson out on loan in Sheffield and learning the ropes of the Premier League.
Yes, mate. But you're right. His attitude does seem exemplary. Rave reviews from out there. So a nice little bit of ray of light in the goalkeeping department, because obviously we're a little bit stuck as to what's going to happen with Dave this summer at the moment.
Yeah, we are. But, I think that it doesn't look as bad as it did a few weeks ago. And I think that if we can maybe show the right attitude as to where we're going in the future, then David De Gea leaving might not be a foregone conclusion.
Yes, of course. I mean, it depends, if we go around Europe and make a few signings that people weren't expecting us to sign, then maybe the whole dynamic of the squad will change quite rapidly.
Yeah, well, let's hope so.
Exactly. Let's not forget, mate, like I've mentioned in recent weeks, Liverpool were in a worse position than us at the end of last year.
Mm-hmm.
And look how they've improved just over 1 year. They finished below us last year. So there's a number of teams, and this always happens. We would have said that, those Ajax players that we played in the 2017 final, we would have said they're not ready for United. But they were ready for the Champions League semi-final.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. A lot can change really quickly in football.
Yeah, and another thing, buddy, is I know you said that sort of Koulibaly, I think it was, you said he was in his prime at 27 years old. I think it's sort of time we put to bed this in his prime phrase, because everyone's prime is different. Some people's prime is when they're 19 and 23. Some people's prime is when they're between 31 and 37. It can be totally different, someone's prime. You only really know when someone's prime is when they finish.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'll give you that.
Thanks for that, Scott.
You're welcome, mate.
So, plenty of names linked to Manchester United, but nothing concrete yet. We will have our fingers on the transfer pulse all summer, so stay with us. Remember to like and subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, or your favourite app, and follow us on Instagram at United100podcast, and that includes you, Andy Cole. Thanks for joining me again, Scott.
Thank you, TC.
Cheerio, Reds.
Ta-ra.